Alrighty, listen here, y'all. I watched Toy Story 5 last weekend, okay? And there were people in my comments popping off because they haven't even seen the film, but they, of course, want to just love it. And you know what? I did too, but I came away from the movie underwhelmed. And when I tell you people in the comments basically wanted to burn me alive, I thought to myself, listen here, y'all. We've got to come to a place in society where we understand it's okay to not agree with everyone's opinion on a film, right? No, to those people, maybe not. I've had a fun week of going back and forth in my comments, but finally I can drop my review, this video that you're watching right now, to explain exactly why I think Toy Story 5 is, it's disappointing. What's going on, you guys? James here with another real review, and thank you for letting me get that off my chest in the intro. But today we are getting into my spoiler-free thoughts on Toy Story 5, and I'm here to tell you why I think the movie's underwhelming. Boy, did I just open myself up for more comments? Maybe. But hey, if you are leaving a comment, if you're here right now, don't forget to hit the big red button below and subscribe to the channel. Join the real family. We're talking a lot of movies this summer, and I've got my Season 2 review for Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender coming next week. I've got my live reactions, I should say live. My reactions to Season 2 also dropping next week and into the following week, and I'm watching Supergirl next week, so I got my reaction and my review coming for that too. Somebody send me more time. But I'm excited to spend the next, so many minutes with you guys today to discuss my thoughts on Toy Story 5, a movie that I'm grateful I got to see early. Thank you, Disney Pixar, for the opportunity. And it is, in theaters probably by the time you're watching this review, but the runtime is 1 hour and 42 minutes. I don't know if that's the longest or not in the franchise. Somebody fact check that for me. But it's directed by this duo that gave me hope. We have Andrew Stanton, who directed WALL-E, and McKenna Harris. This is her feature-length debut. I believe she directed only one short film prior to this. And the cast, guys, we got legends in the voice cast, okay? Tom Hanks as Woody, who people say I look like. Is that true? We have Tim Allen, who voices Buzz Lightyear. Joan Cusack as Jessie. And newcomer Greta Lee, who voices Lilypad. I'm going to throw my tablet out the window as we speak. Nightmare stuff. But if you don't know much about the film, this is just like a brief summary of what the story is about. It's been 7 years since we've been with our favorite group of toys, and now Woody, Buzz, Jessie, and the rest of the gang's jobs are challenged when they're introduced to electronics, a new threat to playtime. And let me tell you, now I understand why screen time exists for Apple products. And even though I listed Woody, Buzz, Jessie, and the rest of the gang, guys, listen. This is all about Jessie, all right? She is the main character, and I will say a majority of our OG toys are sidelined in this film. So if you're coming in looking for more Rex, more Slinky Dog, and Potato Head, you're not getting much of that at all. But guys, let's start off on a positive note here, because now it's time for me to dive into why I think this movie, it's not terrible, but what are some of the things that worked? And the very first thing that works is the animation. It is unbelievably good. It's the best that the franchise has ever looked, I'll be honest with you guys. There are so many cool sequences in this movie as well. It really flashes off the screen. You got, yes, the 3D animation, but then they do this 3D watercolor sequence a couple of times throughout the film, and it really worked for me. Those are the best scenes in the entire film, to be honest, because it combines a lot of heart and humor. But I really love the fact that they were playing with different animation styles in this movie. Maybe the first time we've seen that in a Toy Story film, but I really loved the animation. It looks beautiful, it was smooth, it was effortless, and they played with a lot of different locations in this movie. This is probably the most jam-packed Toy Story you're probably going to see on the big screen. And speaking of the story, guys, the overall messaging was pretty solid. I believe this is very relevant for today's day and age of parenting. I'm not a parent yet, but when the Lord blesses me with a child or two, I am definitely not going to let them use a tablet a lot. Maybe at all. I don't know. Listen, I had Leapfrog growing up, okay? We didn't have iPads and iPhones and screen time, so I didn't have that. But I know a lot of kids now are depending on technology. So this was a very appropriate story for this day and age, where kids watching this movie are probably going to feel convicted. And if they don't, parents take away their tablets and watch how they react. But this movie definitely speaks to that messaging. even though it's a little surface level. And this movie does something different. For the very first time, our OG characters are not the lead here. Instead, Jessie is the lead, and she has several minutes of screen time, even though her story, and I'll say this in the negatives, while she is the main character, it just feels like her story doesn't really go anywhere until the final few minutes. So it doesn't connect quick enough for me. But Jessie being the lead here is a refreshingly cool idea. I mean, for a franchise that is 5 films in, it's been 7 years just about since we've seen the last installment. It is something new, and I appreciate that the directors and the writers went there with Jessie, a character that I happen to like. So it was cool. I just, it didn't work all the way for me, but her being the lead here was neat. Again, different. Even if it didn't work all the way. And what's nice is that this movie introduced some new characters with voice work that really fit for each of them. Now, of course, Greta Lee is the supporting character that gets the most amount of time. I almost said screen time, but that's a stupid pun. Greta Lee voices Lilypad. This is the demonic tablet at this point, but the adversary to the toys that Bonnie has. Bonnie is now in love and infatuated with this new tablet that's taking over her life. So it is the struggle of Jessie and the toys to try and gain back Bonnie's love and attention so that she's not traumatized by this tablet who is forcing her into fake relationships. Dang, did I just drag every one of these kids that use these tablets? But I do think that Greta Lee does a very good job. But the scene stealer, my favorite performance in this entire film, is Conan O'Brien's work as the character Smarty Pants. Yes, it's a lot of toilet humor sometimes, but he does a very good job, and his voice lends itself very well to the character. Yeah, Smarty Pants isn't on screen a lot, mainly found in the second half of the movie, but I do think that his performance is the best of the bunch. And then you have Craig Robinson, who voices Atlas, a character that, very supporting in nature, but Craig Robinson did a very good job as well. So I do think the supporting cast ended up being better than the main cast in a lot of respects. So we've got some great animation, some awesome watercolor sequences, a message that is not terrible on the surface, and some fresh ideas and characters. So you're probably thinking, what's there to hate about this movie? Well, listen, I don't hate anything about this film, but I did walk away very disappointed. So let's get into my negatives now, you guys, because listen, Toy Story as a franchise holds a certain reputation, and especially with me, who grew up with these films. Toy Story 3 literally, basically, came out around the time I was graduating with my buddies. So we got men crying in the theater watching this film. And I will say that this movie, even though I didn't think a fourth was necessary, it was a very solid film. Now, Toy Story 5 comes along, and I was pretty hesitant because it just felt like they were sort of milking the IP. And that's unfortunately the feeling I got for most of this movie, is that while the film did make me laugh at times, and it looks beautiful, awesome voice work, I just don't necessarily think that this film proved that we needed a 5th installment. And the biggest issue I have is the fact that each Toy Story movie, yes, is very cute, adorable in many ways, accessible with some great storytelling, but in Toy Story 5, I felt like it didn't leave any impact after the credits ran. It just kind of felt like a side quest to a degree. Like, I feel like a lot of this could have just been maybe a mini series on Disney Plus, and I hate to even say that, but that's because the story didn't necessarily grab me. And another reason that this movie doesn't necessarily click for me is because they really don't do the greatest job with a couple of characters. This movie lives or dies based on how much emotion you can glean from the film. Does Bonnie as a character make you cry? Do you empathize with her at all? And yes, she's a kid, but we were all kids at one point too, so you're kind of putting yourself, at least I was putting myself in those shoes. And Bonnie just felt like a character that was largely put to the side. Yes, she's on screen a lot, but you were going through the motions with Bonnie. And then another character, Blaze, shows up. And Blaze is a cool character. And there was really good opportunities for both Bonnie and Blaze, as they are sort of like developing a friendship to a degree, for that to be a very central focal point of the film. And it just sort of felt rushed and underdeveloped. And I just didn't think that the movie did the best job, because outside of the human characters, you look to the toys, and like we mentioned earlier, or at least like I mentioned earlier, Jessie as a character? Great. Jessie as the focal point for this movie? Not so effective. I do think that Jessie as the main character just didn't get her fair share from the writers. It just, even being the central focus point of this film, it just felt like Jessie didn't really do much with her story until the final 15 minutes of the movie. And that's, I think, a big issue is that, okay, if you're going to center Jessie, you got to give her more of an emotional tie. They kind of just rush and get to the point in the final 15 minutes, sure. But then you look and you're thinking, okay, you got the OG characters. What are you going to do there? And they give us a subplot with Buzz Lightyear toys that, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, kills the pacing of this movie. And if you're thinking, man, that's a lot of different storylines in this film. Yeah, you're darn right it is. This movie had a little too much going on for it, sadly. And then when they focus on the Buzz Lightyear toys, the pacing comes to a halt. When they go off and they try to focus on Bonnie, I'm not connecting. And then you bring in Blaze, and then that's rushed. So there's just a little too much going on. I would have maybe liked a more streamlined film. Even Woody comes in and has hardly any impact. And that's crazy to say in a Toy Story movie, but I do think that this film's issues really lie in just like too many ideas, too many storylines that just aren't very effective, and sadly kills the pacing of the film. Especially midway through the movie, I thought to myself, man, when's the next watercolor sequence? Those are great, but everything else was just a little meh. And then eventually when they do try to wrap up the story, I'm not saying they don't land the plane, but it feels like we landed and it was a thud. That's the thing in this film, is that the movie cannot necessarily get there. I mean, yeah, the humor's fine, and it's trying to relate both to kids and adults, especially to adults in some scenes. One scene in particular where one of the characters basically swears. I've never heard of that in a Toy Story movie before, but it was weird, and I know that's going to be problematic because there was a child next to me who said the word out loud. These kids know, man. And that's kind of where I am with Toy Story 5. So overall, you guys, I think it's a cute film with a solid message, but it ended up being my least favorite Toy Story of the franchise by far. I mean, I'm struggling to figure out whether I want to give it a 3 or a 3.5 at this point. I think currently I have it as a 3.5 on Letterboxd, but the more I think about this film, the more it makes me reevaluate, whether or not it could be a 3.5 out of 5, because yeah, man, you have all the cute elements here. It's adorable at times. It's beautiful in terms of the animation. Like, oh my gosh, there were times where I'm just thinking, man, this photorealism stuff is good. It looks amazing. But you need more than that. I'm at a point in my life where animation, being as beautiful as it is, it's come so far. You need a story that's compelling, that will hook you, and will allow you to feel like this hour and 42-minute journey is worth it. There's a post-credits scene, a mid-credits scene, and I didn't even feel anything from that. So it's like the movie just failed to really leave an impact with me, and it ends up being very underwhelming because, again, I didn't even need to see a single trailer for this film. The name alone, Toy Story, carries weight. But now I'm starting to reevaluate, because if they want to make a new trilogy, which they're kind of hinting at here, I would be a little sad about it. I think they need to just let it rest. It's time to put the toys in the toy box for good. Man, that's sad to say out loud. But yeah, you guys, there you have it. That's my real review of Toy Story 5, a movie that, again, just it lacked for me. I was disappointed. It's not terrible. I know it will find an audience. Of course, it's going to do bank at the box office. I expect it to, and I hope it does. But I'm just thinking to myself that, man, Toy Story 5 is a movie that, sadly, I don't think I'm necessarily going to be rushing to go rewatch anytime soon. So, yeah, you guys, that's what I got on Toy Story 5. Let me know in the comments below if you're furious with me. Let me know. Get loud. And maybe you agree. I want to hear it too. And hey, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and help us get to 40,000 subscribers. We're so close, y'all. Alrighty, guys. Well, again, thanks so much for watching. God bless y'all. And I'll catch you at the next screening. Oh, great. Zurg, bro, what are you even doing here, Zurg? I know your true identity. I watched Lightyear, which I didn't think was terrible either.